everybody. In this week's Family Focus, we're taking a closer look at what we feed our kids. Dr. Mallika Marshall is here with us. We're talking about, first up, the gluten-free craze. I confess, I've gotten totally caught up in this just because on some level I think, well, maybe we don't need so much gluten. Is a gluten-free product necessarily healthier?
No. No, and we've been trying to send this message for a while, but we're going to try to send it again, that just because something is labeled gluten-free does not mean it's healthy. I mean, there are certainly people, adults and kids, with celiac disease or sensitivities that really should avoid gluten, but there are tons of people out there like yourself who are choosing to go gluten-free even though they don't necessarily have a medical reason to do so, either because they're trying to lose weight or because they think it's healthier. But there was a recent study in the journal Pediatrics that looked at hundreds of foods on store shelves that are labeled gluten-free and that aren't labeled gluten-free. And they found the ones that were labeled gluten-free, 88% of them were deemed unhealthy. So they tended
88%?
88%. Now, it was 97% of the ones that weren't labeled gluten-free. But it's not much better to be 88% unhealthy, right? And they tended to have more sugar. They tended to be lower in protein. So pediatricians are saying out there to parents, like, don't necessarily look for the gluten-free label if you don't need it for a health reason, but read your labels, whether it's gluten-free or not gluten-free, to make sure that you've got a healthy balance of protein, carbohydrates, fats, not too much sugar, and go that way instead.
Okay, so maybe the gluten can come back in.
Yes.
Okay, also talking today about food additives and kids. And this, I think, for just about everybody raises a red flag. But now I know that there's a leading group of doctors who are saying, whoa, 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 watch it with the food additives.
That's right. It's the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's basically sending a warning out there saying that food additives can be dangerous for kids' health. And they list a number of them, including things like phthalates and bisphenols and nitrites and nitrates. The concern is that some of these additives, which are often put in foods to help preserve them or to help package them, that some of them might be hormone disruptors and might affect, for example, fertility, that they might affect brain development. So what pediatricians are saying is make sure you wash your produce very carefully. Instead of going for canned foods, where some of these things can be leached into the food, go for things that are fresh or frozen. Frozen produce can be almost as healthy or as healthy as fresh produce. Avoid processed meats, things that have those nitrates and nitrites in them. And don't microwave your plastics, right? We've sort of known this for years, but sometimes you'll go to the store and it'll say microwave safe. You'll get a cup of soup and
you assume if it says it on
take
there,
off the top,
no
stick it in the
problem.
microwave. That means it's not going to melt in the microwave, but that doesn't necessarily mean that something isn't going to get into your food. So always put it into a ceramic or a glass bowl before sticking it in the microwave.
You know, some of these additives, we've heard the warnings before, and this may seem like a really naive question, but would those, with phthalates, for example, be listed on a label? Would you be able to recognize, wow, that's what's in there?
Sometimes. But there are a lot of things. I mean, I look at food labels all the time, and I'm like, I don't really know what that is. So there is a thing called Google where you can look up some of these things. But, you know, obviously you can't do that conveniently in the grocery store. So, you know, do the best you can, but just try to take those few steps that I mentioned that will at least limit the number of food additives your kids are exposed to.
Great advice, always. Doctor, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being with us for Family Focus.